Welcome to the Conflict of Interest Reviewer Training. I'm Costas Lawless. I am the chair of the Conflict of Interest Working Group.
And I'm Jay Rahman. I'm chair of the AUA's Office of Education. Thank you for volunteering to serve as an AUA COI reviewer. During this module, we will explain the mission and the composition of the COI review work group, discuss the ACCME requirements that govern the COI review process, and discuss the responsibilities of a COI reviewer.
Let's start with a brief overview of the COI Review Work Group. The mission of the COI Review Work Group is to ensure that the accredited continuing education provided by the AUA is evidence-based and free of bias or promotion. The work group consists of a chair and vice chair who serve 2-year terms in each role. These positions are filled by individuals with expertise in areas that have evolving research and treatment options, including oncology and endourology, as these are areas where conflicts of interest most frequently occur. COI reviewers are practicing urologists who are chosen based on their expertise in various urology subspecialties.
No members of the work group are permitted to have any financial relationships with any commercial interests, also known as ineligible companies, while serving in any role on the work group. Should you initiate a financial relationship with a commercial interest at any time in the future, please notify AUA staff that you're beginning a relationship that requires you to remove yourself from the work group. Should your financial relationship end in the future, please feel free to reach out to request to rejoin the work group. Now let's review the ACCME requirements that govern the COI review process. The AUA is accredited by the Accreditation Council for Continuing Medical Education, also known as the ACCME, to provide continuing education. As an accredited provider, the AUA must adhere to the ACCME standards for integrity and independence in continuing medical education. ACCME Standard 3 covers the requirements pertaining to the management of conflicts of interest. The ACCME acknowledges that healthcare providers may have financial relationships with ineligible companies and requires that those processes be in place to identify relevant relationships to ensure that they don't influence accredited content or introduce any commercial bias into the education. The ACCME defines an ineligible company as one whose primary business is producing, marketing, selling, reselling, or distributing healthcare products used by or on patients. This was previously known by the ACCME as commercial interest. As soon as a company begins the government approval process, the ACCME deems the company to be an ineligible company. As part of Standard 3, accredited providers are required to complete the following steps. Number 1, collect information about financial relationships. The AUA uses an organization-wide disclosure system to collect disclosures. Therefore, in addition to collecting information about all financial relationships with ineligible companies, the AUA also collects information about other healthcare relationships as required by other departments in the AUA, such as committee affairs and guidelines. Hopefully, you've already completed your Educator Development Program module titled Your Guide to Conflict of Interest Disclosures, but if not, please be sure to review it after you complete this module. Now, excluded owners and employees of ineligible companies, AUA staff carefully reviews each disclosure record to identify any individual that is an owner or an employee of an ineligible company, as the ACCME prohibits owners or employees of ineligible companies from participating except a few limited circumstances. Number three, identifying relevant financial relationships. AUA staff provide myself and or Sarah with a list of all financial relationships that an individual has with an ineligible company, along with the topics they are speaking about or controlling, and then we determine which relationships are relevant. Number four, mitigating relevant relationships. For each relationship that was determined to be relevant, AUA staff assigns a mitigation method, one of which is peer review by a COI reviewer. If selected for peer review, the content will be assigned to a COI reviewer with expertise on the topic. Occasionally, a reviewer may be asked to review content outside of their area of expertise if there's no reviewer or one available with the appropriate expertise. And number five, disclose relevant financial relationships. AUA staff ensures that the relationships determined to be relevant relationships are disclosed to the learners in advance of the activity. Now, Dr. Lawless will now walk you through your responsibilities as a COI reviewer.
So you will receive an automated email from education@auanet.org listing your new assignment. You will then accept or decline the review within 48 hours. And finally, you will review the content and complete a questionnaire form within 72 hours of acceptance. Here is an example of the email you will receive. Please ensure that you add education@auanet.org to your safe senders list, as it is an automated email and often gets marked as spam. Once you click the link in the email, you will be taken to the COI reviewer questionnaire where you will first accept or decline the review, then download the content to review. This content you review may be slides for an annual meeting, or an AUA course, or a manuscript for the update series lesson, or finally an outline for an upcoming podcast. You respond yes, no, or not applicable, or NA, to each query on the questionnaire. If you respond no, please provide an explanation. Now let's take a look at each question and examples of explanations provided when the reviewer's response is no. The first question is focusing on ensuring the content is fair and balanced. In this example, the reviewer noted that the faculty is only discussing one brand of flexible ureteroscopes. To make the activity balanced, they should mention alternative brands. Question 2 is focused on commercial bias. Ensure that the author is not promoting superiority of one product over others without providing scientific evidence. And question 3 asks that you ensure that there are no logos or product messages included, as this is perceived as marketing. Ensure that the slides are not branded with anything that may be perceived as promotional. Questions 4 and 5 focus on the use of generic names versus brand names. Question 4 asks if the faculty use generic names rather than brand names, as generic names should be used when possible. If you respond no to question 4, then you should also answer question 5 to confirm if more than one brand name was used to ensure that there is no perceived bias. Question 6 is asking you to ensure that the author avoids promoting their own products or services. In this example, the author has a consulting business, and he provides his company's website on the slide. While it is okay for him to disclose that he has a consulting business, listing the company's website on the slide is promoting those services and is not permitted by the ACCME. The next two questions focus on best available evidence. If you respond no to either question, please be specific about what is missing. Faculty must clearly identify new or evolving topics when there is limited evidence. They must also share risks and efficacy when discussing therapeutic alternatives. All research must conform to generally accepted standards, and all content must have appropriate references for the data presented. Once you submit your questionnaire, any no responses will be reviewed by the COI review workgroup chair or vice chair to determine which edits are needed. Faculty are not permitted to participate in the activity until the edits are complete. However, only a small number of reviews require edits. Generally, the edits that are requested are minor in nature, such as changing a drug name to the generic name, removing a logo, or adding a reference.
In conclusion, the COI review workgroup plays a critical role in ensuring the accredited continuing education provided by the AUA is free of any bias and complies with the ACCME accreditation requirements. Your time and expertise are very much appreciated.
You may not hold any financial relationships with ineligible companies while serving as a COI reviewer. Please be timely in completing your reviews and let staff know if you are not able to complete a review. And please be sure to provide explanations for any query on the questionnaire with a no response, so we can ensure any potential issues are addressed.
Dr. Lawless and I thank you for your time.